Florida lawmakers approve a bill to place a THC limit on adult use marijuana ahead of a possible legalization vote. With an adult use marijuana legalization measure potentially headed for Florida's ballot this November, lawmakers on the state's House Healthcare Regulation Subcommittee approved an amendment version of a measure that would preeminently limit THC in the adult use marketplace for cannabis products. Before advancing the bill, HB 1269, the panel first adopted an amendment from its sponsor, Representative Ralph Macilio, Republican, significantly raising the proposed cap on THC for marijuana flower to 30% from 10% in the bill as originally introduced. Members voted 13-4 report the bill favorably, and in a quote, "Due to a variety of reasons, we're only at the beginning of the understanding the potential long-term benefits and harms of high-potency THC marijuana products," Macilio told subcommittee members, noting that the proposed limits will only take effect if the constitutional amendment is adopted. In quotes, "I'm not going to tell you my opinion on adult use marijuana," he said before the panel vote, "but I will say this. We are tasked with keeping the public safe. It's important that we think about that with a long-term vision and not be reactive." Masullo's measure would also impose a 60% THC limit on all other marijuana products and set a 10 milligram THC serving size for edibles with no more than 200 milligrams per package. Despite the subcommittee's advancing of the bill, some members expressed concerns with the proposal. The panel's ranking Democrat, Ralph Robin Battleman, Democrat, said she was voting against the bill because, in quotes, "I don't believe we should be piecemealing this." Instead, she urged colleagues to prepare to adopt a more comprehensive package that includes a suite of adult use cannabis regulations. "I'd rather wait and deal with everything at once," Battleman said. Representative Kelly Skidmore, Democrat, expressed similar concerns. While she applauded the bill for being visionary and looking forward, she said THC caps were just one of the things lawmakers would need to address if voters approve adult use marijuana. In another quote, "How are we going to regulate that? Who's going to get those licenses? It's going to be in every convenience store," she asked. "I think there are many, many things that we need to talk about and discuss, and this is just a little bit premature for me." In another quote, "Oftentimes, people are driven to the illicit marketplace. It's not regulated at all," said Representative Gallup Franklin, the second Democrat, noting that hazardous adulterants in unregulated products can cause more harm than THC itself. Voice of reason, finally. Representative Adam Anderson, Republican, another yes vote, said an unintended consequence of low THC products could simply be from people consuming more marijuana to get the effects that they want, a concept known as self-titration. And in one more quote, "They're going to be smoking more and more of the plant, which might have other additives and other materials that could potentially be harmful," he said. Anderson said he decided to support the amendment bill because he felt it's our responsibility as lawmakers to be proactive, and says, "I commend your efforts to get ahead of this and being proactive and sending some guidance to the industry of what this policy will look like," he told Masulip. And I think it is important because this also was in the article, and I cut a lot of this stuff in the article, so if you want to read the whole thing, you can go to our website at www.high9news.com and read the whole thing. But it also included this interesting quote from DeSantis, and he says, DeSantis also weighed in on another relevant cannabis policy issue last week when he separately told Murphy that he doesn't believe the federal government gun ban for state legal marijuana consumers is constitutional. Florida's former agriculture commissioner Nikki Fried brought a lawsuit against the Biden administration over the rule, though the governor did not get involved in that. Well, they're talking about putting THC caps in adult use cannabis already in Florida before they even get to vote. And I'm willing to bet that this is a move by the legislature to just stymie the vote and prohibit people from wanting to go out and vote for it already because they're already ruining adult use cannabis in Florida. But I'm going to digress and see what y'all have to say. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think?
I told you he's going to get back. He's going to come back from that race with his ass kicked. and be all mad and all pissy and trying to put the kibosh on the whole Florida movement towards legalization.
But I don't think he's doing the kibosh. This is the
like,
state legislature doing this. This isn't the governor doing this. This is the state legislature doing this.
He's in charge of the whole thing. I do agree with him on the whole gun measure, though.
I do too.
At least we have that.
Yeah. We got some progress a little bit out of him. What do you think about these THC?
Why is it that state legislators always want to make rules without looking into the science?
I agree so much with
these comments are not based on science.
No, they're not. They're based out of fear and reefer madness, Dr. T.
Yeah. I have patients who require 100 milligram doses. They don't report getting high with 100 milligram doses. Mm-hmm. What are these people going to do? They're going to have to eat the whole package or go to the illegal market.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure if in the medical market, if they can still procure those types of products or not in Florida, in all reality. But because they're mainly saying that this would be the potency cap for adult use cannabis if the measure was to pass in Florida. So it's not really going to affect the patients in that manner. Whatever is already currently in place would be still the status quo.
I was going to ask that question.
Because to me,
I was going to ask that question of both of our doctors on today. If there were any kind of cap on adult use consumption, do you think there's anything would be reasonable? Do you think there's any kind of like reasonable amount of THC that should be allowed for adult use consumption, as opposed to?
No, I don't understand. I don't understand the purpose of a cap. I mean, if you take too much, you go to sleep. That there's no danger associated with high dose. Most people are self-limiting. The science on high dose cannabis creating more damage is really bad science, and so they're making decisions without really doing good science, and that's my problem.
I agree with that. You have any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark? This self-titration and all this stuff going on?
Yeah, it's just all bullshit. I don't know what the purpose of when you extract the ingredients from the plant, then have to dumb it down. I mean, the whole point of so does this also apply to THCA? Right? Remember that THCA is 87% by weight, delta 9 THC. So, I mean, the whole point of extracting it and getting it pure is because, this guy had this one post on LinkedIn this week where he was adding THCA diamonds to what he called top tier, flower. Mm-hmm. And I'll contend that top tier flower shouldn't need THCA diamonds added to it.
Exactly. Very true. Very, very true.
And the analogy that I made is I said, well, would you add ethanol to a top shelf bourbon? No, right? There's no sense in adding ethanol to that.
Mm-hmm. But depends on who you ask, Doc.
I think that this is all an artifact of prohibition, because again, if people have access to high quality cannabis and high quality concentrates, so I think the 60% thing is certainly not for flower itself. It's for concentrates.
Yes, the 60% is for concentrates. That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, so a good live resin, Jason, analyzes somewhere in the 80s or something like that.
Well,
so what that means is, and it's just stupid, is that when you put a cap like that in place, the people who have been used to live resin products at 87, they're going to go buy it from the trap.
Yep.
Right.
Well, also too, Dr. Mark, what would they use as a cutting agent to lower? Like, let's just say a concentrate. They extract it and it tests at 80%. So they have to dilute it by 20%. What are they going to use to dilute the concentrate?
You could dumb it down with terps. You could dumb it down with CBG or CBD isolate. You could add something to move the THC needle back to compliance, but Holy shit, the whole point of extracting it and to get the whole heady goodness of the plant is to not adulterate it, is to get exactly what's out of the plant into the jar. And if you have to adulterate it, that's just a step going in the wrong direction.
I totally agree. Any thoughts on this, Elise, before we move on?
Yeah, I think any cap just leads to the trap, so if they do this, all those people just be.
Nice.
So Elise is out there campaigning. Elise is out there campaigning, telling people to stop the cap.
Any cap leads to the trap.
Yeah.
Any cap leads to the trap.
Stop the cap.
Yeah.
Let's make a dance out of it, Elise. Come on.
This sounds like
I'll make some T-shirts too.
I'm with
She'll
it.
be out there with her hula hoop,
I could see all the Florida men out there wearing shirts that say no cap. I could totally see this now out in the hurricane and the windstorm.
Drive Yarrow crazy.
Exactly.